It's nice to see you, my friend.
Nice to see you, my friend.
This early New England morning.
Yeah.
Very cold one, though. Well, I would like to introduce to our seekers, and as we call ourselves seekers, I think the very important topic, especially in this modern day world. And this is a topic of virtue and what it actually means. I find it particularly important, though, because in the modern day, we quite confuse that word with many others. And it seems to be hard to distinguish what virtue truly is. So we will try to dig into that and give you some sort of our definition, I guess.
Yeah, completely interested in this new topic, and yeah, this word is a pretty interesting word, because as you were saying, many people confuse that word with other things that we think that make virtue. So nowadays people think that money, for example, or a status, or how people perceive them is virtue.
That's one way to look at that.
Exactly.
And I agree with you. You know, the opposite is when people think that virtue and goodness is not to do any harm. And that is also sort of definition, but I think it misses the key concept. And I think the reason is because when you don't do any harm, it doesn't mean that you commit virtue and that you create good. It's like, well, I don't do any harm. But if I am miserable and I sit alone in my room and I don't do anything, I don't commit any harm. But where is my virtue?
Yeah.
Where is my virtue where I am nothing? Virtue, in some sense, requires a person to have strength. But to be able to apply that strength in the right direction and for the right purpose.
Completely.
And that is much, much harder than just to say, well, I will not do any harm. So that's how I look at this perspective on virtue and how I define it myself. How about the question of having money and power? How do you combat that perspective? And how is it inaccurate?
Yeah, so I think that the word virtue is attached to a more internal state of being. So I think virtue, we confuse virtue with our external state of being. Our external state of being the materialistic world, being the money, success, because we relate success to things that, for me personally, aren't success. I think that virtue is an internal state of coherence, where you first are coherent with what you think, what you feel, and what you act. When you're coherent in those three states, I think that's the most pure virtue that can never exist.
Yeah, and in that sense, you know, the problem with success in that sense is that, well, but what path did you take there? It's like you created the most, you were good, you helped the world, you came up with something that saved lives, for example. Or did you lie, steal, I don't know, murdered, whatever, right? It doesn't correlate necessarily. It might show the, you know, the importance of your virtue and how you contribute, but it doesn't necessarily reflect you being virtuous at all. And you know, the other important part of virtue is, in some sense, and I again refer to the biblical text, I guess, because it's you know, so deep and important, in the sense of Old and New Testament. And especially in the New Testament, even though I'm not a Christian, but we see the figure of Jesus. And the very important part that I think many people forget is that Jesus doesn't just love. And Jesus doesn't just, you know, create these miracles, and doesn't just help people. But in the times where he's questioned by people, by the evil, he doesn't tremble. He's ready. He's ready to take that, you know, that punch. And that is about strength. That's why he is virtuous. It's not just the story about being, you know, that good, but also to be able to, you know, stay against the evil, to be strong against the evil.
Completely agree. I think that also the word virtue can relate to the word of fulfillment. So when we relate virtue to those, like, to those concepts of status, money, that aren't related to what you were saying about Jesus, that was love, that was strength, there's a incoherence between our life and how it feels. So when I say this, is because many people can have a lot of money, can have a lot of status, but that material world doesn't fulfill them. And I think also one of the key virtues of virtue is fulfillment. If you don't feel fulfilled about what you do, if you don't feel fulfilled about what you are, if you don't feel fulfilled about your heart, about everything, you cannot be a virtuous person.
That's actually a very interesting point. You just covered right there that if you're virtuous, you will feel it. You will figure it out. You will know that you are.
Exactly.
because it will also feel good for yourself. That's a great point. I have never thought about that. That's truly a new perspectives
Yeah,
right here.
it's
Wow.
interesting. It's really interesting because in life we face a lot of incoherences. So virtue can be like love. You'll feel it because you feel that warmth of love, you feel that warmth of belonging, and you're fulfilled. You're fulfilled with yourself.
And in that sense, you know, no one gets away with anything, and with good as well. You know, I have never seen people to get away with evils they commit, but at the same time, with the goods they create, with the virtue they, you know, give to this world, they also don't get away with that. They also get something back, and that is as true of a statement as it can be. You know.
Yeah, that's also incredible. When when you're not on that flow state, in that fulfillment where you, because virtue is not related with what you have, it's related with what you feel about yourself. And you'll notice in that people that maybe have a lot of things, but they lack of I don't know, love, and they lack of all that things that they, everything is not good for them. It's apparently good, but it's not good. And there's also one person that doesn't have a lot of material world things, that doesn't have, I don't know, money, status, but he's great with himself, he's happy, and I think that's more a virtuous person than the other person that just have material world things.
That's a very interesting and great point you brought. Well, my friends, if you have any opinion about what virtue is and what we should investigate about virtue, let us know, of course. We were happy to be here with you this early morning, and hope to see you again pretty soon.
Yeah, pretty
Right?
soon. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
my friend.